Alright, let's test your intuition, and maybe your logic too. What do you think will happen if I let go of the top? Look closely. This tower is made of nothing but strings and flexible plates. Will it be able to stay standing? And what if we take a more advanced design with 5 strings? It almost looks like some kind of optical illusion, like the famous impossible shape with 4 sticks and 3 ends. But somehow, it actually holds itself in balance. Today, we're going to figure out how these strange structures called tensegrity work, where you encounter this tension-based technology in everyday life, and how a structure I built could be used in a NASA rover. And of course, the most important part of the experiment, we're going to crash test it. This tower, just like the other structures, is built using the principle of tensegrity, short for the English phrase, tensional integrity. I cut 6 plates out of a plastic cable duct that I bought at a hardware store for 250 rubles. The key feature of this tower is the huge tension created in the string. The plates try to bend back into their original shape, but they are stopped by the knot. As a result, the plates prevent the string from bending, while the string keeps the plates aligned along the same axis. And that's what allows the tower to stand without falling. Although, of course, a design with only one string is extremely unstable. The plates naturally want to rotate toward the direction of the tilt, causing the weight to shift to one side and making the whole tower lean even more. To reduce this rotation, I added a small drop of glue at each connection point. Now let's figure out how a 3-dimensional tensegrity structure keeps its balance. I built a 2-dimensional tensegrity model using rubber bands, so we can clearly see how all the connections work together. Every tensegrity structure has elements that work in compression, these are the rods of the frame, and elements that work in tension, these are the cables. The stable balance comes from the fact that you can't change the position of the frame without changing the length of the cables. For example, let's try to keep the blue and green cables the same length. The orange rubber band has no choice but to stretch. Now, let's try to keep the orange and blue cables the same length. The middle rubber band stretches instead. And if we try to keep that one unchanged, the side cables have to stretch. Now let's get back to the main structure of this episode. In this design, the rubber cables have been replaced with nylon cord, which barely stretches at all. The frame rods are made from pine boards and wooden blocks. I first connected them with long screws and then reinforced them with plastic corner brackets, the kind usually used for attaching shelves inside cabinets. The reason is simple. The less the rods deform at the connection points when the cables pull on them, the less the entire structure will wobble. At first glance, this fragile-looking technology seems like it shouldn't be able to handle much weight, but in reality, it can support enormous loads. For example, in Australia, there's the Kuralpa Bridge over the Brisbane River, a tensegrity bridge that stretches an impressive 470 meters. Or take the 26-meter-tall Needle Tower displayed at the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden in Washington, D.C. And here's an example of tensegrity technology that almost everyone has used. The rim and the hub are being compressed by the cables, which in this case are the metal spokes. And the more spokes there are, the less load each individual spoke has to carry. As you probably know, a bicycle wheel is incredibly strong. But how strong will my tensegrity table actually be? With a kettle and 1 liter of water, about 1 kilogram total, it handles the weight easily. Almost all the load here is carried by the central cable. The entire structure is hanging from it. You can see that clearly when I was adjusting the balance. I leaned the upper part of the frame against the wall, and it was hanging only from the central cable. The side cables simply keep the second level of the structure in the correct position, so even 3 cables are enough to keep this table standing. All right, let's take a risk and put this elegant guitar on it. This beautiful instrument cost $500, and since it's an acoustic electric guitar, it has a built-in pickup, making it heavier than a normal guitar. About 2 kilograms. The question is, will it be able to stay balanced here? Because it can tilt in different directions. Of course, I'll be ready to catch it, because if something terrible happens to this guitar, the only music left in my life will be sad songs. I'm letting go. Are you ready? Well, you're just watching. I'm the one who's not ready. It looks like it's literally standing on the floor. I thought it would at least tilt in one direction, but every cable is tight and nothing is sagging. Actually, I even had an explanation prepared. I thought that because the guitar has a high center of gravity and is still pretty heavy for such a small structure, the cables would sag slightly. The table would lean a little in one direction, while the cables on the other side would tighten and pull it back. But no. There is honestly nothing else to explain. I still have 2 more required weight tests. First, this box, and then a 5-liter bottle. The box weighs 3.5 kilograms, and I don't think the table will survive it. Although I really don't want to see the structure collapse. I need to find the balance point, because maybe it can hold the weight, but it could also tip over. And I think that's exactly what's happening. I haven't even let go yet, but it's already leaning really far. And now? No way! Wow, it didn't fall. I don't believe it. I was sure it was about to slide off. Everything is being held only by the central cable and these 2 outer ones. The wood has already started to deform a little. And now, a couple of minutes later, the second level has simply rested against the corner bracket. The tensegrity table lost its original shape, but I can restore it by pulling the cables tight again. As you can see, a tensegrity structure is extremely resistant to deformation. It can move away from its neutral position, but it naturally tries to return back. And that's exactly why NASA engineers are designing a rover based on this principle. If the equipment is placed in the center, then when the rover is dropped onto the surface of another planet or celestial body, the network of cables and rods acts like a shock absorber. It prevents most of the impact force from reaching the center, and if you can remotely change the length of the cables, the rods will move as well. That means this robot can actually be controlled.